The topic I have chosen to research for my final essay is the virtual music scene, particularly focusing on internet-based artists that perform, record and upload their cover versions of previously recorded songs to internet-based communities and forums. Examples of these artists include Walk Off the Earth, Boyce Avenue and Paint. The best example of the internet-based communities that these artists use for distribution, exposure, and fan-based interaction is the popular video site of YouTube. My research analysis approaches will include a few angles taken from the Paul Carr map illustrated on the Moodle site and Philip Tagg's analytical approaches. Natiaz's approaches, such as the poetic and the aesthetic angles, will enable me to appropriately attack my chosen scene. In relation to poetic, I can describe the goal that these artists are trying to achieve as they interpret and produce their versions of previously released songs in their own way. As far as aesthetics go, comment after comment on YouTube sites will prove more than helpful in the research of the vantage point of these artists' listeners. The time-based approach of his diachronic analysis is also relevant here, as many covers that these virtual artists perform are previously written songs, therefore relating to a piece of work that over time has been rearranged. Carrying on from Phil Tagg's approaches, I believe that both the emic and the etic approaches will be very relevant in my research. Emic in that I will be considering the piece in relation to other music within the genre, and already I can confidently mention the use of looping technology with these video performances. Finally, etic, in that this approach is essential in defining the virtual music scene and its diversity in comparison from one performance to the next. Search terms that I will be employing will include YouTube, fandom, global group interaction, and computerized synthetic music-related scenes, and live and recorded sound. Scholarly articles on the virtual music scene will be included in my annotated bibliography, and online research will of course be my main avenue for research. Digital communication attempts will be considered and addressed, and hopefully some personalised primary source-based interviews, if possible, will prove to be extremely beneficial. The 5 sources that summarise my annotated bibliography so far begins with a text by Nancy Baim. Baim delves into the fan realm of online music communities and argues that online research cannot be the only way to analyse the topic. She suggests that other scenes must be studied in order to achieve the correct fandom response analysis due to the need for comparison of such findings. She uses the example of a pub crawl community, in that, quote, whatever community might be happening at that pub cannot be understood without reference to other spaces in which those people also meet, end quote. She also discusses Swedish communities in detail in order to scope out the networked collectivism in which loose collectives of associated individuals bind next together. Secondly, the text written by Andy Bennett that was included in our online Moodle readings will be used as it goes further into the community and subculture elements of scenes. In relation to virtual scenes, the fan communication perspective is taken into account, which will be built upon my previous mentioned text. My third source is not a recent text. However, it examines the concept of a scene within a scene. William Duckworth takes a stance on the virtual music scene in the early 2000s when music through the internet was first beginning to take shape. I believe this angle is imperative to my research in order to see how far the scene has come and in what ways. Duckworth suggests, quote, virtual music is a new art form within a new medium, producing an entirely new type of artistic experience, end quote. He continues, quote, "Not only is there a redefinition of musical object and musical space, but also a restructuring of the traditional composer, performer, and listener roles." End quote. Fourth, old J. Mihos's text on music and the global social media mobility. Mihos describes the virtual music scene and its social media vehicles from MySpace to Spotify and all the links in between. This text will prove beneficial in my exploration of the virtual fan base and internet fan communities in relation to communication and distribution and the avenues they take. Finally, Richard A. Peterson's book of music scenes, local, translocal, and virtual, will be addressed. However, the chapter from this book that I will use in relation to this is that of Timothy D. Taylor, that takes the virtual scene analysis further in order to determine a scene within a scene. Given that the specific area of virtual scene that I will be researching is in fact the covers scene that is most specifically distributed using the virtual music scene, I believe this text is beneficial in reinforcing my research. In conclusion, I look forward to researching this particular scene that I have chosen, the covers scene that is within the virtual music scene, using examples of internet-based artists, valuable analytical approaches, and scholarly texts.